Now, one of the world's greatest enduring mysteries is a mystery no more. For decades, the Bermuda Triangle has captured imaginations with stories of vanishing planes and ships.
This dangerous stretch of water between Florida, Puerto Rico, and Bermuda is known for its chilling and unexplained events. Over time, more than 50 ships and 20 airplanes have reportedly disappeared in this triangle. Some believe it's just a myth, while others think this area is linked to mysterious forces or vortices that pull objects into another dimension. But in 2025, scientists from Carnegie Science and Yale University made a groundbreaking discovery beneath this region, a massive structure hidden deep inside the Earth's mantle that behaves nothing like normal geology in the Atlantic Ocean. And this changes everything we thought we knew about this place. After decades of theories, legends, and speculation, we have finally found a real scientific explanation for one of the ocean's greatest mysteries. And what it suggests is far more serious and far more unsettling than the fictional stories ever claimed. So, what exactly have scientists found beneath the Bermuda Triangle? Let's dive in. The secret under Bermuda. The Bermuda Islands are located in the western North Atlantic Ocean, about 1,030 kilometers east of North Carolina. And for the past 6 decades, this region has been one of the most talked about and controversial areas on Earth. But what scientists recently discovered beneath this region is something almost nobody expected. In November 2025, researchers from Carnegie Science and Yale University, led by seismologists William D. Fraser and Jeffrey Park, analyzed seismic waves from nearly 400 powerful earthquakes around the world. These waves travel through Earth, and as they pass deep underground, they slightly change speed, depending on what they hit. That's how scientists see inside the planet. But under Bermuda, something didn't match the model. The waves slowed down in a very specific way, about 4% slower than expected. In geology, that's not a small detail. It usually means one thing: heat, melting, or unusual material deep below the surface. So the team built a 3D digital model of what lies under the island. And what they found was not a normal volcanic route. Instead, there was a vertical column of disturbed rock sitting right inside what geologists call the mantle transition zone, a layer located between 250 and 410 miles below Earth's surface. Normally, this region under the Atlantic is cold, stable, almost quiet. But here, it was completely different. The structure looked like a giant underground pillar pushing upward through the mantle, a kind of hidden engine inside the planet. And inside that system, scientists found minerals like ringwoodite and wadsleyite. These are not ordinary rocks. They trap hydrogen and oxygen inside their structure, meaning they hold water, but not as liquid as locked chemical bonds. In fact, this single zone may contain enough trapped water to equal a hidden underground ocean, and that water changes everything. It lowers the melting point of rock, turning solid material into a slushy, slow-moving mass deep beneath the island. Even more unusual, this is not a normal volcanic hotspot like Hawaii. Those come from deep plumes rising straight from Earth's core. Bermuda is different. Here, scientists believe an ancient piece of ocean crust sank into the mantle nearly 60 million years ago, got stuck, and is now slowly melting from the inside, like a recycled slab of Earth being broken down again and again. The chemical signals are also strange. Rocks connected to this region carry unusual helium and lead isotopes, signatures that don't match any other volcanic island on the planet. And that's the part scientists didn't expect most, because it suggests Earth's interior here is not stable or predictable at all. But if something this powerful is moving beneath Bermuda, slowly shaping the surface above it, then the real question is not just what is under Bermuda, it's what it has been building over time, right above it. How Bermuda was formed. For decades, Bermuda had a very simple explanation in textbooks. Nothing unusual, nothing mysterious. It was believed to be just an extinct volcanic seamount, a shield volcano that formed nearly 30 million years ago, when the Atlantic Ocean floor slowly drifted over a fixed hotspot beneath Earth's crust. The same basic process that created islands like Hawaii. The idea was simple. Magma rises, breaks through the crust, builds an island, and then dies when the tectonic plate moves away. After that, the volcano cools, becomes inactive, and slowly erodes over time. But there was always one problem. Bermuda doesn't fit the pattern. It sits far away from any active plate boundary, thousands of miles from the mid-Atlantic ridge. There is no clear volcanic chain leading to it. No predictable hotspot trail like other volcanic islands. In other words, it looked like a volcano that should not exist there at all. And that is where the 2025 findings changed everything. Instead of a deep, narrow magma plume rising from Earth's core, researchers now suggest something very different. A slow, massive rise of material coming from the mantle transition zone, deep between 250 and 410 miles underground. But this is not an eruption in the normal sense. There is no explosive vent, no single magma pipe. Instead, scientists describe it as a slow-motion uplift, where huge, buoyant blocks of rock are gradually pushing upward through the mantle over millions of years. Like something is rising from deep Earth, but very slowly, almost silently. And this rising material is still active today, supporting Bermuda from below. To understand how this began, researchers trace it back roughly 60 million years. A fragment of ancient ocean crust, known as part of the Farallon Plate, sank deep into Earth and became trapped beneath what is now the Atlantic Basin. Over time, heat and pressure changed it completely. The water-rich minerals inside began to break down, creating a strange mixture of partially molten rock, trapped gases, and chemically altered material. This mixture was unusually light compared to the surrounding mantle, so instead of sinking further, it started to rise. Slowly at first, then forming a large underground accumulation, like a floating mass in a dense fluid. Scientists compare it to a giant bubble in a lava lamp, constantly pushing upward. Over millions of years, this rising raft of material built a structure beneath the ocean floor, about 12.4 miles thick, physically lifting the crust above it. And eventually, that pressure reached the surface, forming Bermuda itself. This changes everything geologists thought they knew about the Atlantic. Because the region was assumed to be cold, stable, and inactive, an area with no internal energy source. But Bermuda shows something else entirely. And that changes how we see the island completely. Because if the ground beneath this region is not stable, if it is still being shaped, lifted, and altered from below, then it doesn't only explain how Bermuda was formed, it also points towards something far more disturbing, that some of the most chilling disappearances in this region may not be random at all. And once you see that connection, you may never look at the Bermuda mystery the same way again. The disappearance. Illusion. When we talk about the most famous disappearances in this region, the SS Cotopaxi is one of the clearest ghost ship cases ever recorded. In 1925, the SS Cotopaxi left Charleston, South Carolina, carrying coal and heading toward Havana, Cuba. It was a normal commercial journey, nothing unusual in the reports. But somewhere along the route, it ran into a strong tropical storm. And then the ship, along with 32 crew members, completely vanished. No wreckage, no final message, no clear explanation. For decades, it became one of the key cases used to support the idea that something strange was happening inside the Bermuda Triangle. But then, almost a century later, the story started to change completely. In 2020, marine archaeologists and shipwreck researchers began rechecking old data, including the Cotopaxi's original distress signals and location estimates. What they found was surprising. A wreck known for years as the Bear Wreck, lying about 35 nautical miles off the coast of St. Augustine, Florida, matched the Cotopaxi in size, structure, machinery, and even cargo patterns. That meant something very important. The ship didn't vanish inside some mysterious zone at all. It had sunk far outside the so-called Bermuda Triangle region, and it was lost because of a storm, not anything unknown. But the deeper issue wasn't just this one case. It was how these kinds of errors happened in the first place. Back in the early 1900s, Ships didn't have accurate tracking systems. They used something called dead reckoning, basically estimating position based on last known speed and direction. If a storm pushed a ship off course, even by a small amount, its reported location could become completely wrong. And radio signals were not reliable either. A distress call could be sent, but never received, especially during storms when atmospheric interference was strong. So when a ship sank, search teams often looked in the wrong area of the ocean. And that creates a deeper question. If the technology explains the loss and the wrecks are eventually found, why did the Bermuda Triangle myth become so powerful in the first place? Origin of the Devil's Triangle. Surprisingly, the Bermuda Triangle has no official existence at all. No government map, no military chart, no international navigation system recognizes it as a real geographic region. It is not a defined zone in any scientific or legal sense. Even its size keeps changing, depending on who is telling the story. Some writers stretch it to 500,000 square miles. Others expand it to more than 1.5 million. In some versions, it reaches near Virginia. In others, it shifts toward the Azores. The borders are not fixed. They move with the story. The idea really began in 1964 when a writer named Vincent Gaddis published an article called The Deadly Bermuda Triangle in a magazine known for dramatic adventure stories. He was not a scientist or investigator. He was a fiction writer looking for a powerful hook. He took unrelated shipwrecks, plane crashes from different time periods, and connected them under one invisible label, a single deadly zone that supposedly explained everything. Years later, author Charles Berlitz expanded the idea in his book, The Bermuda Triangle. It became a massive global bestseller, selling millions of copies. But the book mixed real events with speculation about Atlantis, aliens, and time distortions without solid scientific evidence. And that is where the cycle began. Every time a ship sank anywhere in the Western Atlantic, it slowly became part of the Triangle story in media reports. Even when accidents had clear explanations, the mystery version was more attractive and more widely shared. This created something important in public thinking: confirmation bias. The idea that people remember the mysterious cases but ignore the solved ones. Even older stories were pulled into the myth. Christopher Columbus's voyage in 1492 is often mentioned as early proof of strange activity. He recorded a flickering light in the distance and some compass irregularities, but modern historians explain this very differently. His route matches the Bahamas, where local fishermen were using torches at night for fishing and navigation. And the compass behavior he noted was not a mystery either. It was magnetic declination, a natural shift between magnetic north and true north that was not properly understood at the time. A similar pattern appears again with Flight 19 in 1945. The pilots became disoriented after compass failure and drifted off course over open ocean. They kept flying until they eventually ran out of fuel in harsh weather conditions. There is no evidence of anything unnatural here, but still, the headlines kept making it sound more mysterious than it really was. And this pattern of selective storytelling never stopped. Over time, it began spreading to other parts of the world, where similar disappearance stories started getting grouped together. And slowly, this idea of isolated incidents turned into something much bigger and more mysterious than just one triangle in the Atlantic. The Atlantic Death Zone. Once we move past myths and storytelling, the real picture of the Bermuda Triangle becomes something very different and far more physical. Not mysterious, not supernatural, but extremely violent ocean physics combined in one of the most unstable regions on Earth. And it starts with something called rogue waves. These are not normal ocean waves. They are sudden, massive walls of water that can rise to more than twice the height of the surrounding sea in just seconds. They form when multiple wave systems travel at different speeds, collide, and merge into a single concentrated peak of energy. In the Bermuda region, this becomes even more dangerous, because here, big waves from the North Atlantic move south, while strong storms come up from lower areas. When they meet, the energy builds up in random ways, and this can suddenly create a rogue wave without any warning. The force behind it is extreme. A normal cargo ship is designed to handle pressure of around 15 pounds per square inch, but a rogue wave can hit with over 100 pounds per square inch of force. At that level, it can crush a ship's bridge, snap the hull, and sink it in less than a minute, often before any distress signal is even sent. But waves are only part of the problem. Another major factor is the Gulf Stream. This is one of the strongest ocean currents on the planet, flowing at nearly 5.6 miles per hour through the same region. If a ship or aircraft crashes into the water, this current doesn't just carry debris, it spreads it across hundreds of miles within hours. That means search teams are not just looking for wreckage, they are often looking in the wrong direction entirely. On top of that, the region sits in a hot spot for extreme weather instability. The sharp temperature difference between warm currents and cooler air above creates sudden microbursts and waterspouts. These can form in minutes, often when the sky still looks completely clear. Then there are hurricanes. The Bermuda region lies directly in the path of Atlantic storm systems moving west from Africa. This makes it one of the most active hurricane corridors in the world, where sudden pressure drops and violent wind shifts are common. And below all of this, the ocean floor itself becomes part of the danger. The southern edge of the region drops into the Puerto Rico Trench, one of the deepest parts of the Atlantic, plunging over 27,000 feet. At those depths, pressure is so extreme that any wreck becomes impossible to recover. It disappears into a zone where visibility is zero and conditions crush most modern equipment. So when all of this combines, rogue waves, fast currents, sudden storms, deep trenches, navigation stops being predictable. Now, by this point, we have seen in detail how the Bermuda Triangle can be explained through natural forces. But there are still some parts of this place that don't fully fit into any clear explanation. And whether you call it mystery or just missing information for now, this unknown part of the Bermuda Triangle still leaves a strange feeling that something is definitely wrong with this place. The interference theory. We have already seen how storms, waves, and ocean currents can explain a lot of what happens in the Bermuda Triangle. But there is another layer, something far less visible, something that doesn't come from the surface of the ocean, but from deep beneath the seabed itself. It starts with frozen methane deposits hidden under the ocean floor. These are trapped gases locked inside ice-like structures for thousands of years. But if these deposits are disturbed by underwater landslides or small temperature changes, they can suddenly break apart. When that happens, huge amounts of gas rise rapidly through the water. This creates a strange effect. The water becomes full of bubbles, and its density drops sharply. In simple terms, the sea loses its ability to support weight. If a ship is directly above this zone, it can suddenly sink straight down, almost like falling through air, leaving very little or no surface trace behind. At the same time, the ocean floor in this region is not completely stable. Small underwater earthquakes can send powerful shock waves through the water, strong enough to damage vessels from below, while the surface looks completely calm. And above all of this, the atmosphere adds its own unpredictability. Satellite data has recorded rare hexagonal cloud formations over the western Atlantic. These structures can generate sudden downward air bursts, where columns of wind fall toward the ocean at extreme speeds. In some cases, these microbursts can hit with enough force to flip small ships or force aircraft into sudden loss of control. So when all of this comes together, navigation shifts, human error, gas release, underwater shocks, and sudden wind bursts, control becomes extremely unstable, even without anything visible on the surface. Now, by this point, you have seen almost everything about the Bermuda Triangle in its real form. But when researchers studied other oceans, they discovered something unexpected. There are several similar and even more strange triangle-like zones around the world. And once you see all of them together, you start to notice a deeper pattern, one you probably never paid attention to before. Global triangle pattern. When we zoom out from Bermuda, something interesting starts to appear, because similar stories are not limited to one place. They show up in different parts of the world, across very different environments. Take the Dragon's Triangle in Japan, also known as the Devil's Sea. This region lies near the Izu Islands, right above some of the most active underwater volcanic systems on Earth. Just like Bermuda, it sits over deep ocean trenches and fast-moving currents. For centuries, sailors reported strange disappearances here. One of the most famous early events dates back to the Mongol invasions in the 13th century, when Kublai Khan sent massive fleets toward Japan. Both invasion attempts were destroyed by powerful tropical cyclones, later called kamikaze, or divine winds. In the 1950s, Japan even sent a research vessel to study unusual losses in the region. That ship, Kaiomaru No. 5, was destroyed during a sudden underwater volcanic eruption near Myojin-sho Reef, showing once again that geology and weather, not mystery, were behind the danger. Then there is the Lake Michigan Triangle, a freshwater zone in the United States where ships and even aircraft have gone missing. One of the most well-known cases is Northwest Orient Flight 2501 in 1950, which vanished over the lake with 58 people on board. But Lake Michigan is not an ocean mystery zone. It is a place where sudden lake-effect storms, temperature clashes, and violent wind shifts can create ocean-like waves in seconds, trapping anything on the surface in freezing, unstable conditions. And even on land, similar stories appear. In Vermont, the Bennington Triangle became known for multiple disappearances between 1945 and 1950. But investigations point to harsh weather, deep forest terrain, abandoned mining shafts, and sinkholes where people could easily become lost and never be found. So when you compare all these regions, a pattern starts to form. And there are two main ways people interpret all of this. One group argues that everything we've seen can be explained through natural forces. In their view, the Bermuda Triangle is not a special danger zone. It is just an area where storms, currents, and navigation errors combine, the same way they do in other heavily traveled ocean regions. But there is another side, and according to them, this pattern of triangles and unexplained stories doesn't end here. Because if you start looking at the idea of a triangle shape, some people begin connecting it with other structures on Earth that have puzzled humans for centuries, like pyramids. They point out that pyramids are also built using triangular shapes, and some even believe these shapes were linked to hidden energy or lost knowledge. Because of this, they argue that places like these should be studied more seriously instead of being dismissed or ignored. So after hearing the full picture of what the Bermuda Triangle really is, what do you think is happening here? Is it simply a mix of natural forces and human mistakes that got turned into a global mystery? Or is there still something about these regions that we haven't fully understood yet? Let us know what you think in the comments below. If you liked this video, make sure you give it a thumbs up. And if you don't want to miss more truthful videos about mysterious places on our planet, subscribe to the channel. We'll see you in the next one.